Let's talk now. So we're going to talk about anxiety this morning, and Thomas Kwame Nimo is our guest. He will be helping us as a clinical health psychologist. Good morning, Thomas. You're welcome.
Hi, Desi. Good morning.
Yeah. So let's just get straight into it. Anxiety. How do people get anxious? Or okay, do the explanation first. What really that is, anxiety?
Okay, so anxiety is a part of your body's natural fear mechanism, and everybody has that. Every organism has that, because as a matter of fact, we've survived as a human civilization, and considering all other animals that also have that reaction because of that. So anxiety, first of all, let me explain anxiety in relation to fear. So anxiety is a part of, like I said, the body's natural mechanism to detect threats and then run away from that threat. So the fear is actually the body's detection of actual instances, and it usually subsides quicker than what anxiety is. So in anxiety, there's an evaluation of that threat, and then the body's ability, due to its experience levels and how well it can manage that anxious situation, gives you the physiological reaction, which is like the palpitations, the sweating, the panic attacks, the breathlessness, all those come as a result.
Oh, okay. So this explanation there, I know it's
technical.
Yeah, but let's break it down. As you speak to people, what are some of the things that they tell you about being anxious? What are some of the things that make them anxious?
Okay, so think about it like this. It's like your body is like a building, and then it's got natural alarm systems to regulate when people would interfere, like if somebody's coming, the threat is coming and all that. So the anxiety reaction is like the body's alarm system. So that's just basically how it functions. Yes.
Okay.
Unfortunately, sometimes there can be dysregulation. It's like you have a car whose alarm is messed up.
Okay.
It can be annoying, So for instance, if you have to sit in front of a crowd and have give a speech, and that alarm system kicks in, that can be quite annoying. It can be debilitating to a degree where you can't even function properly in normal social settings.
Okay. Now, I was asking why, or some of the things people tell you that makes them anxious. What are some of the things that you hear from people?
So, depending on who you see, when you have an anxiety reaction. So, for a person that comes to a medical officer's a medical setting because they get anxious and stuff like that, they would likely be looking at the person's neurological functioning. We're talking about if they have adrenaline moving correctly, their dopaminergic systems are moving correctly, they have malfunctions in their nutrients levels and stuff like that. So, serotonin regulates these things, magnesium is also a very important component in regulating and relaxing you as a person. So we check all these things, and then we rule out all possible causes. But then when it comes to psychology, we're talking about how your body or your mind interprets the information in relation to like your experiences and what you know already.
Okay.
So when people come into sessions talking about the anxiety levels, for instance, you've got panic attack or selective mutism. Selective mutism is basically when somebody, usually happens in children, when they in certain environments are not able to speak. So they're at home, they are all jovial and they talk and all that, but then if you move them to school settings and stuff like that, they just become mute. And so in those instances, those have adverse effects on the academics and stuff like that.
Okay.
Social anxiety reactions where people are even afraid to enter into trust keys and stuff like that. So then they become crippled by the anxiety. They are unable to function properly in society, and that's when it becomes serious for psychotherapy.
Wow.
Oh, to that extent.
To that extent.
See, the anxiety reaction can be serious. It actually is the most commonly diagnosed psychiatric problem or psychological problem.
Okay.
Anxiety, depression, they both move together.
Okay.
And the anxiety loop is continuous. It never ends, really. If somebody has, for instance, panic attacks. So in panic attacks, it's a type of anxiety. In panic attacks, you have a person interpreting information as probably threatening, and then having the physiological reaction of the flight or fight response. So heart beating, the person is breathing. I can actually induce a panic attack right now. So your breathing changes, and then you're not your cognition consequently does that. Unfortunately, you keep the loop going because then the person is afraid of a panic attack happening in public. So then they keep thinking of a panic attack, and that causes other panic attacks. Exactly.
Okay, so. Kwame, we've got just a few minutes. The final one, quickly on that. How do we overcome that?
So like I said, it's a basic life function. So we take care of our basics. So we're talking eating, sleeping, very important. Exercise. If you come into therapy, one of the first prescriptions is to start exercising because it's very, very important to try and get your body's, resetting done well.
Okay. All right, thank you. That was.
I think Kwame has to come next week.
Yeah, we've got to do that because the exercising.
Because we have to know a lot of things like signs, symptoms, risk factors.
Fantastic.
Who triggers it? What triggers?
Yeah, my co-host has to do some
because your co-host has decided not to do an exercise.
Thank you very much, Thomas.
Always welcome.
This morning, Clinical Health Psychologist. So this will wrap up the show.